Well, I can tell you when years ago we started A's Cast Live, one of the first biggest stars that joined us, Bob Melvin, said, "You got to get my guy on," and he came on. And then, of course, we switched this to video, made it like a TV show, and the great success. We appreciate everybody that supported us from the start. And Gonzo, you supported us from the start, and I always want to say thank you for that because a big name coming on for us was great.
Well, I appreciate it. I don't know so much about a big name, but
just
a pleasure to be out here with you guys.
Now, obviously, you starred for the D-backs, and Toy Lavella, we love him as a former Athletic. We've had him on for years, and it was something I was talking about at the end of last season. Like, all of a sudden, the D-backs figured out, man, we can run on everybody, and we are so athletic. Then they changed the rules, and I went, you got to watch out for these guys. And we're seeing it. Second place to the Dodgers.
Yeah, I think this year, last year was kind of a cutting our teeth type of year for a couple players, and now you're really starting to see the confidence grow. I was just standing by the cage and just looking at some of our young players and going, these guys are really starting to feel good about it. If they get a lead, they press. I mean, they'll come at you. They'll try to steal some bases. They'll put the pressure on you, and they'll really stress out some catchers when they can. We did that against the Dodgers earlier in the season. So it's a fun team to watch, and they just haven't been around the league long enough to know who a lot of these players are. They haven't figured it out yet. Like, oh, my God, that guy's a 10-year veteran pitching against us. They play with no fear out there, which has been a lot of fun to watch.
Carroll signing that contract. You hear it all the time. It just drives you nuts where they say he could have got a lot more money if he waited. But you get that security now. You're in a place that you love. And what does it mean to the organization and the fan base to get a special talent like this inked up?
Yeah, and, he really ran through our minor league system, signed out of high school out of Seattle, and then, played extremely well in A-ball, AA, went to AAA for a little bit. And then we brought him up for like 30 games, I think, last year. And I think he's 22, but he plays like a 25, 26-year-old, plays with a lot of confidence, quiet kid, just goes about his work each and every day. And he's a guy that our organization felt like we can put as a cornerstone and build around him. And it's been a lot of fun to see him go out there and play.
And we were talking about Dominic Fletcher is an Arkansas Razorback. We got a Razorback. We were talking a little SEC. I mean, out of nowhere, he's hitting 429, 2 bombs, 13 RBIs. I mean, kind of carrying the team out of nowhere, 13 games.
Yeah, he's played extremely well, and we know his brother with the Angels plays real well here against the Oakland A's. So
dominates us. He's like Babe Ruth.
So we're hoping it kind of rubs off here, and the family thing just kind of sticks together here. But he's been another great, player. I think for him, the confidence builder was him playing in the WBC. He was able to play in the WBC, and you could see that the confidence really built up for him. And when he came to start the season, he got out of the gates well, played well. And, I mean, he's done everything we've asked of him up here in the big leagues.
Think about your career as a defensive player. You're a great defensive player, but teams that put pressure on you, I think Ketel Marte, I don't know, was it Saturday or Sunday, scored on a wild pitch or pass ball against the Giants from second base.
Yep.
I mean, it's like always putting pressure on the defense. What's that like, outfielder, infielder, when in the back of your mind, man, these guys, they're gutsy, they're fearless, and they're going to run on us.
Yeah, it gets you a little more tense out there on the field. You don't want to make that little mistake. If you bobble the ball or anything, they're going to try to take that extra base on you. And like I said earlier, if we get a lead early, that's when they really get loose out there and really start to play our outfield play with all our young guys out there. They can really run it down. That's been a lot of fun, a lot of confidence for our pitchers when they have those guys. We got a young kid behind the plate that really wouldn't have been playing every day if it wasn't for Kelly getting hurt. Carson Kelly got hurt in spring training, broke his forearm, and this kid's come up, and he's got a really good arm. I'm looking forward to, in this 3-game series, if Ruiz gets on base and watching him try to steal bases with our catcher behind the plate.
I mean, you and I are both old enough to remember when guys actually stole bases.
Yeah.
We've named the field after this guy named Ricky Henderson.
Yeah, it's you're right. Earlier you said the rule change has really benefited with our club, and it has. We were running extremely a lot earlier, and then we've kind of backed off a little bit, kind of like resting our guys. We get some leads and stuff, but I think now you're going to see them start to press again, especially, we're playing a team that, hasn't fared well in the standings. You have to try to win these games when you can.
And you could run back in the day.
I tell my son that I stole over 100 bases in my career, and he said, "Dad, you played for 19 years." So
No, like a young Astro, you stole bags.
I had 1 year where I stole 20, so that was a good year for me.
I wish we'd see him, Gallon. It's the numbers are so eye-popping how good he is. We're not going to see him in the series, but we always overreact to who's the best pitcher now. But if you look at right now, who's pitching today, not many guys better than him.
Yeah, and I think he didn't really get the recognition he deserved in the Cy Young voting last year, going into this year. And really, the telltale sign for us was this year he got to match up against Alcantara with the Marlins, and he dominated that game. It was like, okay, you guys didn't vote me up there in the top 3 or 4. I'm going to show you what I got, and he dominated that whole game against the Marlins. And we got to Alcantara early and got him out of the game.
I mean, you guys think back in the day when you got Schilling and you got Johnson. It's like you go into a series. It's amazing how you could say let's rock when you got guys like that.
When you got good pitching, you always feel like you're one run ahead before the game even starts. And I think when Zach Gallen pitches, Merrill Kelly too, he's been really good for us. The team plays with a little bit more confidence. And if they fall behind, this team will not panic. If they're behind a run or two, they just kind of peck away a little bit, and they'll try to get 1 or 2 back. And then if they get the opportunity to base load, then that's when they try to strike.
You know what? I remember during COVID when we were just having the 60-game season, that before that, well, we had to figure out stuff to do, right? So we started honoring the 72, 73, 74 teams playing those games. And then we brought on Bob Melvin, and he talked about you guys in Arizona were doing the same thing with the 0-1, reliving the playoff games and the World Series games. What was that like years later to see the games, hear the games, and have that city a buzz again talking about what did that feel like?
Well, it's incredible. I mean, now here we are, that was 0-1, 22 years later, and you're still talking about that championship. As a player, when you win one, you think you're going to do it again and again and again. And I think, now that my career is over, you learn to really value that time and cherish it. And, we've had some good, the Phoenix Suns and, the other teams in the Valley. And you guys have it here, with Golden State and them, you win a championship and you go, oh, we're going to win it again and again and again. And it really doesn't happen. So when you have those opportunities and you have those winning teams, you really got to cherish that moment, especially as a player, because you don't know how many chances you're going to get.
Never gets old seeing that hit, does it?
No, that screaming line drive.
Roped. It was roped.
I'm glad they don't have VCRs anymore. So when I tell, I go to talk to people, I go, man, that was, off the hands, but it was a line drive out the left center field. So, but, I'll take it any way I can get it. I mean, 57 home runs that year, and the biggest hit of my career was a bloop. That's why I always laugh at these guys when they look at,
exit velocity,
exit velo. They're all, my exit velo was 106. I go, but it was an out. Give me like a 72 mile an hour dinker right there for 3 for 4 or something like that. I'll take that all day.
Well, you're going up against arguably the greatest pitch of all time that always bored so much on lefties, and the firewood and all the bats he broke just for you to get enough on that to get it past the infield to win the game.
Yeah, and for me, he struck me out in the 8th inning. I didn't want to come up in the 9th and say, fall behind on him. So I was aggressive. First pitch, I fouled it straight back, and I went, oh, God, here it goes again. And you're right. Being a left-hander with that cutter that Mariano throws, it's like a Pac-Man. It keeps – the more you look for it, it feels like the further it gets inside on you. So there was a lot of players in their careers that said every time they faced him, they did not take their A-bat up to the plate because they, in their mind, it was already like you're beat mentally against a guy like that. But I knew for me that was going to be the last at-bat of the season. So if I blew that bat up, it didn't matter to me as long as it went down as a hit there.
Well, you can be as humble as you want. You were one of the great players of your era. It was great to watch you play, and I'm so glad that you're around this organization. I know how everybody loves you. The fans love you. To do some TV, to be around the team, it's got to be special.
Yeah, I appreciate this opportunity just to be around baseball. I love baseball, and my title is senior advisor to the president and CEO, but I've been thrust upon to do some games here, and I love it because I'm around the team and I get to travel with these guys and kind of get a little insight of what's going on. And believe it or not, sometimes they'll sit down and ask questions about the good old days and see how guys used to do it. The game has changed so much in the last 10, 15, 20 years, and these guys are bigger and stronger. And I look at guys now and I'm going, God, that kid's 22, 23 years old. He's like 6'5", 225 pounds. And when I was first coming up, my locker mate was Glenn Davis, the big bopper.
Big first base.
And him and George Foster and Dale Murphy, those were the 3 home run hitters, when they were, in the late 80s, early 90s. And then I'm, Now I'm looking at guys that are, 6'2", weigh 180 pounds that are hitting 30, 40 a year. I'm going, man, these guys, they can swing it, but they don't get cheated up there. And that's why you have a lot more strikeouts in the game.
Well, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
I appreciate it, guys.
For you coming on early when we start. We're the number one podcast in baseball now by a lot.
That doesn't surprise me.
And so for you coming on early and Bob Melvin introducing us to you, I've always really appreciated the time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Enjoy the next couple days.
Thanks. Great to see you guys.